Hello viewers, I welcome you all from HLT of Tech channel and today we will talk about the SharePoint website and web application architecture. How SharePoint works, it is very important and we have to understand the overall design, overall architecture of SharePoint in order to become a good SharePoint administrator. So this video is equally important for the beginners as well as for the intermediate level SharePoint administrators who are working in different organizations because I'm also a SharePoint administrator and I have worked for the last 8 years over different type of companies for SharePoint design and administration and deployment of SharePoint, especially on-premise environment servers. So I have realized that with the passage of time and with the passage of interaction of designing complex architectures, you have always room for learning because SharePoint is a very interesting architecture of document sites, and if we understand its basic design and basic way architecture on which it works optimal uh, level, we can become a good SharePoint administrator. So first of all, if we talk about the SharePoint architecture, it is very important to understand that whenever you create a SharePoint first site, you have to deploy a web application. Okay, whenever you create a web application, it is quite mandatory that whenever you create a web application, you should understand that what happens whenever you create a web application. A form is an application pool is created in IIS, that is Internet Information System of the server. It may be on your web servers if you have defined the web front end servers, and it may be on a single server that is responsible for entertaining the user request. So if we talk about its practical demonstration, this is the central administration of our SharePoint 2022 environment which we created in our previous 8 videos. In that videos, if I go and click manage web application, here you can see that there are two web applications that have been created. The first one is the central administration that is created by default whenever we create a new SharePoint form. So the next web application that I have created is SharePoint 80 and its URL is this one. Okay, if you click here, you can see that there are different type of controls on the ribbon bench, and you can access different type of its resources. For example, you can go and click on the general settings in which you can define various type of settings. You can define the time zone here. If you want to define the time zone, you can specify the quota template. That is important if you want to restrict the quota template of the web application. Similarly, you can create different type of you can edit the different type of its applications, etc. uh, there are many resources, there are many things that are totally dependent upon the resources utilization, or in other words, we say it's resource throttling. So resource throttling is available here. You can define different type of resource throttling here. I will tell about you in the later videos as well. So if we talk about the SharePoint 80 web application, it means that first of all you have to create a web application. That is clear. And whenever you create a web application, it is nothing but an empty container. This empty container has the URL. If you browse this URL, you cannot access anything because I've already told you that this is an empty container. It doesn't contain anything. Okay, the next thing that is important is that this application, that is your SharePoint web application, works on any port. Okay, you define this port whenever you create a new web application. For creating a new web application, you click new, and here you can define you can create a new IS website, or you can use an existing IS website. It is always recommended that you create a new IS website. For that purpose, a new application pool is created. You can define the port here. That is very important because if you are given an access to your users, this port is mandatory. If you have deployed the network firewalls for the access of your for the protection of your farm. Similarly, you have a host header. The path for the deployment of a new IS website is here. You can define the secure socket layer, you can define the allow anonymous layers, you can define the server certificate here. Till 2019, SharePoint 2019, this was not available here. You had to do it manually by going into IS website, IS manager, and then deploying it here in the bindings. Okay, if we talk about the bindings, here is a site and here's the bindings. If we go and edit, we can add a new binding. We specify the port here, that is the 443, and we have to define HTTPS, and for that purpose we have to define you have to assign a certificate here. Okay, till 2019 you had to do it from the internet information service manager, but now SharePoint Microsoft has introduced this facility in while creating a new web application. Similarly, there are different types of authentication level. You must be familiar with this authentication level if you are SharePoint as well as domain administrator. This is the URL. This is a new application pool that I was talking about. Okay, so whenever you create a new web application pool, if we go into the internet information system, you see here that if I go into the SharePoint application pools, you will notice that a new web application pool for this site is created. This application pool is responsible for managing all the activities or all the IIs related sessions that are built whenever your user interact with the SharePoint application or the SharePoint website. So whenever you create a new web application, you should remember that you're creating a new web application pool. For that web application pool, you can say, if I double click it here, you can see that there are different types of settings here. It depends upon your SharePoint or the operating system. That is, for example, I'm using operating system 2022. It means that it has the latest version here. Similarly, there is a farm, that is SP19 farm is a user who is responsible for making this pool active. If I accidentally change the password of this SP19 farm, or if I deliberately change it, you have to assign the new password here manually, otherwise your application pool will stop. So these are the things that are necessary to remember, to understand that how SharePoint web application works. So first of all, I've created a web application. It's in the started state. Its .NET version is version 4.0, and it has only one application that is running on it. Okay, so now proceeding towards the sites. Here is the site of SharePoint 80, and if we go into the logging module, we can see that there is a drive of that drive is available in your server drive, where you can say that. So let's go manually. I'm see inet pub, and in inet pub there is a logs folder, and in that logs folder you have the log files. So these are the log files that are created and that are manually that are created automatically whenever your application site is deployed, and all the data or the logs, IS logs, are written here. Similarly, if we go and say about the session state, we can maintain the session states here. These are the default values. You can change them, but it is always recommended to leave it on the Microsoft SharePoint. So coming towards the point that whenever you create a web application, a new empty container is created. Now for that empty container, you have to first make a first container, that is your site collection. If I go and see about the site collection here, we have to go into the central administration, application management, and here we can create the new site collection. So the web application that we were talking about was the SharePoint 80. So I will select it, and here I can create a new site collection. It is very important to understand that the first site collection you create, it is recommended that you create a empty site collection. That's depend upon you as well, but it's always recommended that the first site collection, that is the you can say the home page of your SharePoint sites, must be an empty, and it may contain all the information for viewing purpose of your users, so that the users can have the view access to that web application, and from that application they can navigate to different type of subsites and site collections or the repositories. There are different types of templates that are available in SharePoint. You have team site template, you have the blog template, developer site, project site, and community template for the collaboration purpose. These are just the default templates. You can edit them, you can change them. They have a standard design that is designed by Microsoft. You can have the enterprise that is available for basically for the complete form access. They are publishing template as well, and the last one, you can specify your own custom template here. Okay, you create a new site collection here, and in that site collection you define the administrators here, and you define the quota. I have already created a videos upon the quota template. So after creating a new web application, you create a site collection. For that purpose, let's say I have created one site collection, that is the default one. And if I say that what is the URL, that is the URL of that site collection. If I copy it and paste it here, I can access the site collection now. So this is the site collection that was a community template, because let me show you about the community template here. Application management, create site collection, sorry, create site collection, and in this is the communication site. I have used this template for creating my homepage, that is the HLTF Tech organization homepage. So this is a homepage of community template that is accessible for me. If I go into the site information here, I can change the site logo, I can define the organization name, and I can also proceed further for viewing all the site collection settings. I can define the site permissions here. By default, whenever you create any site collection with a name, let's say I name it with a home name, it has it create three user groups, that are home members, home owners, and home visitors. And if I go into the permission level, I can say that the home members have the edit permissions, home owners have the full control, and home visitors can only read it. So for site levels, it is always recommended that you give the access of read, that is home visitors, to all users. And in that site collection, if you define any applications and you can say document libraries where you store your documents, then it is recommended to give them the access of edit or contribute. So if I go into the permission level, there are different types of permission levels. You can even create a new permission level of your own. You can add a permission level here. Okay, and these are all the settings that are available for the permission levels. But for your ease, SharePoint has already defined three permission levels, that are members, owners, and visitors. So coming back to the home page, this is a site collection home page. So up till this point, that we have created a web application, we have created a site collection. In that site collection, the home page, or the main page of main name of the site collection, that is home, is created as the first site, or we can say the top site level. The top site level is always interactive, is a very user friendly, and all the information of your organization can be displayed here for the dissemination to all employees, because by default this site is accessible to all users, or we can say that this is the main gate through which all the users can enter your sites and can navigate to different site collections. So now the next point is we can create new subsites. There is a difference between a subsite and site collection. If I want to create a new subsite here, uh, then what I can do, I can go into the site contents, and in that site content there is a point of subsites, and here I can create a new subsite here. Okay, if I name it as public document repository, public documents library, or okay, I'm going to create a site subsite, so I will name it public document site. I will keep the URL short PDS, because short URLs are always effective, and I will not give any space, because space is always changed by the percentage mark. So the subsite I'm going to create have different type of you can say uh, templates. For example, I'm going to create a basic search document center here. Okay, because this is a site which will have multiple documents, and these documents can easily be accessible. So this point is that you want to use same permissions, or use unique permissions. I've talked about the unique permissions in my previous video. You can go and navigate towards the inheritance and the unique permission level. So I'm going to click create. So this is a public document site, document center, in which you can create your multiple documents libraries here. Okay, so if I go and click on back, this is the URL. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to I'm going to go define it at the root level for the navigation purpose. For that I'm going to add it here, or I can simply say that I can sorry okay, because this is the site slash pds slash default aspx. I'm going to public docs site. Okay, I'm going to name it as a display name. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to save it. So this is the public document site through which I can go there, and I can click on home. Home page is still giving me the home page of subsite, so I'm going to go back to the home page. So in this way you can create multiple subsites. This is a site collection. This was the top level site. This was the top level site, and in that site we create the multiple subsites. One important thing to understand here is that whenever you create a subsite, that is, whenever you create a subsite, it is created inside the site collection. Actually, it's a portion that is dedicated to some specific purpose, but it resides in the site collection. And this site collection has one-to-one mapping with the content database. Let me show you here. If I go into the central administration and go into the manage content databases, you can see that this is the content database in which the site collection exists. And which site collection is it? I'm going into the application management, view all site collections, and if I click here, it shows me that this is the site collection that is mounted on a database, that is this one. Okay, so whatever subsite or the subsites that I will create in that site collection, that is this one, will also save its data in the same content database. If you want that the database must be separate for separate sites, you have to create a new site collection rather creating subsites. Okay, so for creating new site collection, if I go and create new site collection, it will give me an option to it will okay, for creating new site collection on a new content database, what I have to do, I have to first go into the manage content database and create a new content database here. After creating a new content database here, I can only create a new site collection on the new content database, because you must remember that by default a new site collection is created on the latest database that is created. That is, if I create a new site collection right now at this situation, what will happen? The site collection will be created on that content database. For keeping your storage at optimal level, what you do, you created multiple content databases. Let me show you here that if I go and click a content database and I click it for, let's say I have an HR department, and for that department I want to create a new content database so that the all of the data of the site collection of HR and the subsites of HR may go and be saved in that content database. What is the content database? The content database is actually the combination of MDF files and LDF files that are being saved on your database server. So uh, here I'm going to click OK, and after some time a new content database will be created. After that we will create a new site collection and we will see that whether it's created on a new content database. Now here you can see that a new content database has been created, that is WSS underscore content underscore HR. It is a combination of MDF and LDF files that are created on your database server. So right now you can see that there is no site collection right now here. So this is the latest database that is mounted, and what I'm going to do, if I go into the application management and create a new site collection for HR department, I will say it HR, and let's say it will be a team site or any other template you want. I will define a secondary administrator. You may have various administrators as per your organization standard, and I'm going to click OK. A new site collection has been created here, and if I go and go for the URL, that is sites/HR, we will see that a new site collection is now working here. And if I go into the content database here, you will notice that a new site collection that has been created here is now one. And if I go and see all the site collections here, the latest site collection, that is this one, if I click here, it has been created on a new content database that we created earlier. Now if I want, if I estimate that the data that with the passage of time HR department will save on its in this site collection, that is, it may be saved in document libraries or any other thing. It may be in the form of PDF files, documents, or PowerPoint presentations, etc. So the data that is being saved into the HR site is actually being saved in the content databases. That is this one. With the passage of time, the data when it will increased up to some limit, the overall queries or overall read write queries on that content database will become expensive. So for that purpose, we have to define the limit of the site collections that are actually created on that content databases. To keep your ideal performance, it is always recommended that you keep the size of your content database up to the maximum 200 GB to 300 GB. There are various, you can say, uh, discussion forums available on Google on this topic of limiting the size of content database. Microsoft also recommend various practices, but up to my practical experience, it is always recommended to keep it to maximum 200 to 300 GB maximum. After that, it is always recommended that you create a new content database. So if you are going to create a new site collection for your finance department, for your logistic department, or any other department, and you estimate that you pre-estimate that your HR size will grow up to the maximum size of 200 GB, then it is always recommended never to create a new site collection on that content database. You create a separate new content database for a new site collection. You should ignore these values because these values are for uh, are applicable at that environment where the content database or the sites are read only, and they are just for giving the information. They don't have a large number of data. But the organizations who want to keep all their documents here, they want to keep it, as SharePoint is a document management center. So for that purpose, it's always recommended to limit the size of content databases. Okay, so coming back, this is the model of the site collection. This is the model of subsites, top level sites, and the web application. You can create as many site collections as you want, provided your data size is in limit with the content database, because site collection is mapped one to one with the content database. So if you have any query regarding this very important video of designing of structure of architecture of SharePoint, then please leave the comment. Please leave it in the comment box, because I always feel it excited to talk about these points with anyone. I thank you all for watching these videos, and viewers who are my new viewers, please subscribe my channel and continue watching and enjoying more videos.